This week we have a conversation with Gary Jones, the creator of Divergent Comics. We talk about his relatively late start into the fandom and the business of comics. We also talk about vetting artists and the upcoming football season. Hang out and find out more of what Damon does. DJ Prime, play the music. Welcome to Damon Does Conversations with Creators. This is your nerd space safe place and where you may find your new fave. I am Damon, father of two, husband of one, and leader of this here Demodcast. My next guest loves comic books so much, he started a podcast. He loves comic books so much, he decided to create his own. He loves comic books so much, he created his own company. Ladies and gentlemen, wherever you are on the non-binary spectrum, make some noise for Gary Jones.
You know what, Damon? I don't think I've ever had an introduction as energetic as that. So, that deserves applause on its own. I appreciate that introduction. That was great.
Well, thank you for taking time out to talk to a perfect stranger. How you doing today?
I'm great, man. This was a fun way to kind of end my day. I look forward to kind of just chatting it up,
Now, before we get into the questions, let everybody know where you would like to be found on the internet.
Easiest way to find me, probably on Threads or Facebook. You can just look up Gary Jones or GMTJ2K. On either one of those, you'll find me. Yeah, Threads, Facebook. I'm also on Instagram under GMTJ2K as well.
So we're just going to skip by Divergent Comics? Is that what we're doing?
You know what? You're right, because Divergent Comics is also on Facebook and Instagram as Divergent Comics. And then I have the YouTube channel, Divergent Comics YouTube channel, where I have also interviewed other comic creators. I also will be coming up in 2026, I'll be doing a lot of reels and sneak peeks to my next comic that I'm actually going to be releasing come February, March of 2026.
Are you ready to answer some questions?
I love answering questions. I love being open and honest,
When did you know you wanted to be a comic book writer?
So I love this question. Everyone always asks me, like, when did I make this decision? I initially didn't make this decision by myself. I was supposed to do this with my cousin back in 2018. We talked about writing comics together. Well, initially it was going to be like making a video game. That was the original idea. It was going to be making a video game. But then we started talking more. We both really loved comic book movies. And at the time I had started reading comics more, starting with DC Rebirth. And so around June 2018, we were like, let's make a comic. And when we were younger, we had already kind of like created some characters and made like a little story that we were really excited about. You know how it is when you're like 7, 8, 9 years old and really love superheroes and stuff like that. So that's what we did. And summer 2018 is when like I was like, yeah, I want to write comics. But I don't think I was like truly in love with writing comics at that time. It was more so like this will be something fun to do type of thing. It was like, let's see what happens. But it wasn't until I took a couple of writing classes through Comics Experience. I read some comic book scripts from people like Tom Taylor. And there were so many scripts I read from the Comics Experience webpage. Between those scripts and just kind of like reading more comics, I decided, why not just really dive into making my own story? So it wasn't until 2021 when I took some time away from social media. I just kind of did the research and the studying and the work on becoming a better creator and a better writer that I finally fell in love with it. So in December 2021, I fell in love with the name Divergent Comics, and that's when it was born. Long story, but that's literally how the whole process worked out. it was a growing thing for me. It wasn't something that I was just like, oh yeah, this is what I want to do since I was like 9 years old. It was something I had to grow into.
Nice, nice. So you did? Well, I assume you read comics at least a little bit as a kid.
Actually, growing up, most of what I did was just watch cartoons. I watched all the DC animated TV shows. I watched the Marvel animated shows, things like that. I didn't read my first comic until I was in high school.
Really?
Yeah, very first comic I ever read was Static New 52.
Except for the New 52 part. That was.
No, yeah, yeah. I actually went back and read some of the older Milestone Statics stuff, and it was really good. And I was like, I see why people aren't really that big a fan of Static New 52, but it has a special place in my heart since it was my first one.
We'll let that slide. Why the name Divergent?
I'm not great with coming up with names. I use a name generator all the time when it comes to creating character names and names for cities and things like that. So when I was working on my comic book publisher name, I was like, it has to be something different. It has to be something unique, it has to be something special. And I kept saying those words, and I went to the dictionary and did a thesaurus lookup for what those words, like what are some synonyms. And Divergent was the first one that kind of popped out at me. And I was like, I'm pretty sure there's already a Divergent comics like that. I mean, there's a Divergent movie universe, and the books are Divergent books. So I was like, there's obviously a Divergent comics, and there wasn't a Divergent comics anywhere. So I was like, you know what? It worked. So it just kind of stuck.
So I was waiting for you then.
Yeah. Yeah, it was.
What do you wish you had known when you had started out?
So I was thinking about this question because this one is also one of those that people love to ask. For me, the one thing I wish I had known was how to properly vet my artists. I'm just a writer. I wish I knew how to draw. That would save me so much money. But finding the right artist for my stories was hard. And the story that's actually going to be coming out next year in 2026. I've held on to that story since I initially started writing comics in 2018. And it's just because I couldn't find the right art style that fit what I was wanting to go for. And so I wish when I first started writing comics that the classes I took, the people I talked to, the other people in the game had said, make sure you know what art style you want and that you can vet the artist that you're working with to get not only the art style that you want, but also in the way that you want. Because there's been plenty of times where the stories that I've wanted to release, I've had to put on back burner because of different things dealing with artists unable to complete deadlines and things like that. And that just caused a lot of frustration. So I just wish that I had known that ahead of time.
Are you still streamlining your process when it comes to that? Or have you, after trial and error, you've kind of at least have a baseline of where you're going to go?
I figured out how I'm going to work with everything. I found an art team that works really well. They did my last project, and they're going to be doing all of my projects going forward after these next two books that come out next year. So I have a team and a process that's going to work.
What's your go-to order at your favorite hometown restaurant?
Now, this is a good question. So I currently live in South Carolina. I was born and raised in Georgia. I moved to South Carolina in 2016. So I've been here for about 9 years, almost 10 years. So I'm going to go based off of South Carolina, but it's tough because I don't really like going out to eat in a lot of places here. But there is one spot where I kind of like to frequent just because I know what I'm going to get. Is this Japanese fusion spot called Fuji, and they have a bowl that you can get with rice. It's fried rice. It comes with peppers and broccoli, but then you also can choose your protein. So you can either choose one protein, two proteins, or three proteins. I love getting the 2 protein bowl with steak and shrimp. So that is my go-to order. The 2 protein bowl, steak and shrimp.
Was this a trial and error thing, or when you went in there, you're like, that's what I have to have?
It was trial and error. None of their bowls or their proteins are bad that I've had because they also have like chicken, and then they have scallops. But I just found that the steak and shrimp is my favorite.
What are you curious about?
What am I curious about? I'm curious about a lot of things. I find myself to be kind of like a naturally curious type of person, but not in the generic sense of like curious about what other people do or who other people are, but I like to just understand people in general. The few classes I took in college, some of my favorite ones were psychology and sociology. Psychology because it really helped me start to understand a little bit about how people think, how people operate, what causes people to tick and function, and things like that. And I think it's helped me to be a better reader of people, which I think in turn helps me write better characters. And then sociology, I love sociology because it got me to really thinking about society as a whole, how society functions, how people interact with each other. And I think that helped me with truly understanding what my place is in society in a sense. Because I feel like oftentimes we go through life and we're like, okay, am I just here to work, pay bills, and die type of thing? And I feel like after taking the sociology class and understanding how like something simple as poor people being poor not because they choose not to work but because there are societal structures in place that typically prevent them from being able to gain employment and gain a meaningful wage to build wealth, or something such as systemic racism that affects people to the extent of, okay, yes, I'm really good at my job. I know what I know and I have a degree, but I'm still going to earn less than my white counterparts just because of societal racism. So things like that helped me understand society a little bit more and made me realize that, okay, as a black man in America, I have a place that they want to put me in and a box that they want to put me in, but I don't want to fit in that box. And so I've found that I wanted to carve my space in this world through studying a little bit of sociology by understanding that, okay, I can step out of these boundaries and push the envelope to an extent by, becoming a writer or learning IT and melding that with being a writer and, using these different functions of who I am as a person creatively as well as intellectually, and making that into something that can benefit not only just me, but also people that are in my circle and that I may touch in the future.
Can you give me an example of how this is shown up in your comics?
That is a good question. It hasn't shown up yet. Most of the stories I've done are issue ones, but the story that I've been holding on to since 2018 is very heavy on societal issues. The very first story is going to be focusing on human trafficking and how hidden it is in middle America. Because most times people look at human trafficking as something that happens in like low level areas, poverty stricken areas, things like that. But it's actually, if you look at most statistics, more common amongst people of middle to upper class wealth because they are able to hide it better. They get better access to resources. They're able to access the dark web a little bit better. So it's a lot more organized compared to the way that people try to portray it when it's done amongst people of lower class status.
That's gross.
Very.
That's gross. I'm
Yeah.
not. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. This wouldn't be a Sovereign Battalion, would it?
It is not. No. That is going to be teased in the winter of 2026, actually.
What should I ask you that I didn't know enough to ask?
You know, I think maybe something that a lot of people don't know about me is how much I love football. I probably love football more than I love comics to some degree. Whenever I'm not, reading comics or writing, I'm watching football in some manner. It's so bad, I'll explain it. So it's so bad for me that NFL Plus offers a subscription where you can get the all 22 film included with your package. So what that is access to the Skycam version of the game. It has no audio, no commentary. It's just the plays being run, and you get to see each individual player, and you can pause and rewind and all that stuff. I will look at that like for games where I can't watch my team. I will look at that and see, okay, who did what? Where did they mess up? How could the play have been better? What was structurally going wrong? Things like that. And all of that stems from the fact that I played football in middle school and high school, and I played on the offensive line. So I really love line play. But yeah, growing up, I was raised in a football household. I love football. I play football. I would probably say if it's not my first love over comics, it's at least tied with comics.
Steelers fan?
I am, yes. Yes.
How do I go with this? What the hell? How do you feel about the season?
So we're 2 weeks in. I'm not happy about what I've seen so far. The defense was supposed to be much better. It has been a huge disappointment. A lot of the issues stem from the defensive line not being able to either hold at the line or contain or build or push. But it is early. A lot of players don't play preseason except for younger players or players fighting for roster position. So it usually takes about the first month or so for teams to kind of like get their players into a routine and get ready for actual football, which is kind of the downside of the way that preseason is going. I have a soapbox on why I believe the NFL was wrong for cutting down from 4 preseason games down to 3, but I will not jump on that soapbox on your podcast. But overall, I will say the record for the Steelers is about where I predicted it as of now. In a month, I predict the record to be probably 3-1, at worst 2-2. And then I had them by the end of the season winning 11 games. So very modest, but I don't expect too much more outside of what we've seen offensively from this team. Defensively, I expect them to improve a lot.
Do you coach football now?
I don't. I've flirted with that idea, but the problem is that with what I do in my full-time job doing IT, it's really hard to do that, especially with the current job where there's like 1 week out of the month I'm on call. So there could be a time where like I'm at a football game if that's my week and someone's like, "Oh, the internet is down," and it's like, "Well, I got to stop the game to go, or I got to stop coaching to go, do work and stuff," and it just wouldn't work out. So I'll be a backseat coach for right now, or a Monday morning quarterback.
If you could create a new holiday, what would it commemorate?
That is so tough. For this one, I think anyone who follows me, anyone who knows me knows I'm like pro-Black to my core. I believe that the holiday I want to create would be a Black love holiday. Just a day where the Black community in general just like loves each other. And it has to be an observed holiday where all Black people get off. I don't care if they're Black Americans or Africans or what. All Black people get the day off. And it's a requirement that at least one Black family within a 15-mile radius has to have a cookout, and all Black people have to go to it. And you have to at least bring one dish. Drinks aren't acceptable. You can bring drinks, but that's not your dish.
Ooh, man. I could see it going really well, and I also see complications.
Really bad. It will be a very complicated holiday.
What day or what time of year would we be celebrating this?
Since I say it has to be a cookout, because that's how we come together, I think it will work best in either late spring, early summer, or late summer, early fall. If we had to maybe choose the perfect holiday or the perfect date for it to be, I would say probably mid-June. I'm thinking maybe June 10th, June 15th-ish, like just before Juneteenth. That way you get that back-to-back type of thing. Yeah.
Make a whole week of it.
Exactly, yeah. Yeah, make it June 15th, and then that way June 19th, you get, yeah, exactly. So the whole week.
Why create?
I've never been asked that. But that is a really good question. And I think I'm also a big proponent of mental health. I believe mental health is extremely important, and that also does tie into my comics a lot as well, especially more as I dive into it. But I create because, one, I love it. I didn't realize I loved it until I started doing it. And I think it's partly genetic. My mom was a writer, and she loved writing. It was just natural for me to kind of take that from her. And two, I think it's one way that I can do my own form of justice. I like to speak about issues and do different things, but there's a lot of things that I don't do because I'm an introvert. So I don't like going to protests because I don't like being around a bunch of people. And then I like to donate, but brother's a little poor sometimes. So I can't always give money. So for me, writing stories that speak to real life issues and things that not just Black people, but people of color across the diaspora deal with, and using fictional means to provide a solution, to me, is not only cathartic, but also a way to bring awareness. And I think that's my way of at least trying to give back.
And I'm going to leave it there. That was awesome. Thank you very much. I appreciate you. Thank you very much.
No, I thank you. This is great. I appreciate it.
Final thoughts. It's never too late to pursue any kind of creative endeavor. You never know where your passions will take you, so go ahead and try that new thing. Write that poem or story, or write that song. Paint that picture. Go for it. Also, we create our own boxes. We create our own rules. So if you don't like the box you feel like you're in, you can create a new one for you to play in. A new one from scratch, you make the rules. This is all our sandbox, and go play in it. Those are my thoughts. Let me know what you think. Leave them in the comments below or send an email at demondoes@gmail.com. Thank you for joining us, whether it's your first time or this time. If you like what you heard, tell the world. Like, comment, and subscribe on YouTube, or go to your favorite podcast app and leave a 5-star review. Either way will help more join the conversation. And until next time, see it, hear it, speak it, live.